show you first how I make those little business cards when I have it set up for it here.
Your clay porcelain, everything porcelain?
It's actually a stoneware.
Oh.
Some people call it a porcelainized stoneware. And that's it.
So iron oxide in your...
A little bit of iron, a little bit of manganese, a little bit of cobalt, and glycerin. It's I use glycerin, and actually I was using it for other stuff, but that's what stamp pads are made from.
Oh, really?
Keeps it wet. So, and really the later ones, on this extruder, I extrude out a coil of clay about 1 inch across, and I chop it off, have it measured the lengths, and I can make them a lot faster than rolling them up. So I'll make 40 or 50 of these at a time. You know, like some mornings just to get started, I'll make a bunch.
On your hands up and
yeah,
cranks out.
Right. And they crackle more when they're in a ball around the edges. That one did a little bit.
Can I see the stamp? Just
I had this one made.
Is that metal or?
No, it's rubber.
It's a linoleum block?
No, I don't know what, it's a rubber. I'm not exactly sure what the material is. It's made at a, I actually started having it made at a company in California. I did a Laguna Clay had me do their holiday gifts one year. I made 500 tiles. And they gave me a rubber stamp to do the backs with. And I tried to get some stamps made in Phoenix, and they really weren't cut deep enough. It's not the surface of the rubber stamp that you're stamping, but it's down underneath a little bit. And theirs were more ragged, you know, as it burned deeper for some reason. So I finally just started ordering them from this outfit in Pasadena, California. I can order one and get it back in about a week.
Cool.
So I have these little things made. And then I just glue it. I tell them not to mount it. I just mount it to these jars, because otherwise they'd put it on a square and it's harder to line up.
Yeah, it's harder.
So that's how I make those silly little things. But they're my website ads, business cards.
That's a good idea.
So anyway, let's do this one I'll do this one Ocotillo. That's a funny one.
So how long ago did you make all the molds?
Some have just been made in the last month. Others have been, there's a few of these that are probably 4 or 5 years old. So I usually, you know, knock them out periodically. And this slip here is right off the wheel with glycerin added to it.
Glycerin?
Yeah, about 1/3 of the liquid is glycerin, and that's what keeps it wet longer. Okay. And on these, I add color to it, to the glycerin, so you've seen some pots in there that have a background color. Yeah. Done the same way. Well, lately I've been doing them all natural, just a neutral background. And that's what I've been working with today. So I'll go in streaks, you know, for a few weeks I'll do them all like with a blue background, just because you have everything all mixed up and ready to go. Now the advantage of this glycerin, it takes a long time to dry, and it gives at least in my mind, it gives the opportunity for the various elements to equalize their water content.
Is there any sand or grog in that clay?
No, it will work, but it works better without it. I used to do this when I first started doing all the sprigging. I was using LB Blend, which had sand in it, and I changed over to B-Mix about 15 or 20 years ago, and they release better, because even a grain of sand or two out on one of these, you know, the edges of one of those things can create a weak spot that's sometimes a little bit more difficult to come out of the mold. It's the best tool in a ceramic shop. Used to clean tables, used as dustpan, open clay boxes, stuff like this. Now if I'm going to use a bird, I got to figure out which way it's coming from. Maybe I'll use a fly catcher this time. hummingbird.
Didn't you make all the originals?
Yes. This one's sitting on something, so I gotta get a flying one. There's one right there. Actually, that's a cactus wren, but that'll work. It's going to be flying this way, so I want this coming the other direction. Get a little S curve to it. This always reminds me of a joke when I'm doing this and me gently keeping the liquid off my fingers. The old English medical students, you know, sitting around with professors demonstrating stuff, and he's got a little bottle of urine and he's doing a test for diabetes, and he tells the students, you know, you dip your finger into the urine and you taste it, and if it tastes sweet like sugar, the patient is probably diabetic. So he passes the bottle around and everybody reluctantly tastes the urine, and afterwards he says, well, he says, as medical students, I want to congratulate you on your, you know, doing stuff like that, but he says, as scientists, I want to know you to know that you didn't observe me dip this finger in like this one.
I think I saw it in a movie somewhere. I'm trying to remember where.
Yeah. It's a good story, though.
Yeah, it is.
You failed to notice.
The key detail. So you don't worry about using metal on the plaster. Is that one of the
first
teach about not?
The first dozen or so molds I made, I ruined slowly by gouging them, and it's, for some reason you develop a technique where you don't gouge them, and it's hard to even put your finger on what you're doing, you know. But it's the light touch and not a forceful deal. But if friends come over on occasion will help me, and they will ruin a mold real quick. I always let them use an older mold, one that I've got duplicates of, but because they'll start gouging it, and it just and I know it's going to happen because I did the same thing. In fact, if anything, they'll do it better than me, you know, because I did it pretty bad. But it's just some of those things over a period of time you get used to doing.
So it's a two-part cactus, huh?
Yeah.
It's the
There
flowering part up at the top, or it's an ocotillo, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sticking because the clay's wet?
It's yeah. So I can add
Glycerin and slip is his secret, he said.
Oh.
It's a secret.
How much glycerin in the slip?
1/3 of the liquid.
Really? Wow.
Up to 1/3. I understand old heel potters, you know how they'd band those whiskey bottles and crocks and stuff? They put these real smooth bands of cobalt or iron oxide around. And I understand they use glycerin in that. And it keeps the brush smooth. You know, as you're painting it on, like either bisque fired or even a dry glaze, it flows. Because it doesn't dry as fast. It just is
And how much did you say again?
up to 1/3.
Up to 1/3.
Where do you get your glycerin?
I buy this through Marjan's, which originally, it actually comes from Laguna.
No.
You can buy it in the chair is squeaking in. I buy it by the gallon.
You can buy it by 1 ounce at the drugstore, but
Yeah.
1 ounce, how would that
It's
help?
very expensive. I bought it once or twice from there when I was first playing with it. Yeah, and it's real expensive. It's about $40 a gallon though from Marjan's. I get it from Laguna, but it has a lot of uses. I've known a ceramic engineer who says they use